up on 6th Avenue here. That's the quickest way from Brooklyn if you're going to the Upper West Side. Or you can work your way to West Side Highway, but there's all lights. It's just the same going this way. Got the ATV store. I wonder how they do over there, because Ducati is right over here. Ducati motorcycle. I think they're still here. Yep, right there. Where Ducati motorcycle. I know they're pretty busy, but I don't know how busy ATV is. You know, some people don't like ATV helmets. I've had a lot of them. They're not bad. My wife still uses one. I wouldn't mind hearing some input from people, what they think of it. It's a fairly decent helmet. I got an HJC, which I'm, you know, pretty happy with, but it was quite expensive, and you know, the shield scratches very easily. Like, I'm so careful about the shield on this helmet, and even so, just get like scratches from shit in the road bouncing up. Salt in the road, it seems to scratch it. Just very easily scratchable. And you would need to replace your shield every so often, which I have, and it's not cheap at all, and the stuff is like not readily available. And then there's an anti-fog thing that goes in there. That's hard to get. It's got all different part numbers. It's very confusing. Just don't know the price. I just don't know if it's really the right thing, you know, because HAC is a Korean helmet. I guess Korean you could compare with Japan in their quality. Their build quality is probably just as good. As yeah, build quality for Korea would definitely be just as good as Japan. But an interesting thing about motorcycles in Korea is they're not well liked at all. They're actually forbidden on certain highways. Like, most highways are not, motorcycles are not allowed. Which is, you know, I remember that when I was in Korea, like, the motorcycles were for low-class people. They use them for delivery, stuff like that. It was like Uber stuff, you know, like, that was it. I mean, guys delivering beer and shit in the city, and that was way back when I was stationed in Korea. But you know, I have friends in Korea, and they said it's exactly the same now. There's no change at all. You know, motorcycles are disrespected in Korea and frowned upon. Actually, they're not considered to be something like what I'm doing here, going around doing service calls in Manhattan, you know, driving around. Even my friend said, "Oh, friend, that's very dangerous, like going around on a motorcycle. Why do you bother with that?" You know, like it's like they don't even acknowledge any of the benefits. It's just not acknowledged as a valid way to get around the city in Seoul or Busan down south. Motorcycle is very frowned upon, and family members would really put you down if you were using a motorcycle to go around the city. They would definitely put you down. It would just be, you know, if you came from a wealthy family or something like that, that you had a really big future, you just wouldn't be able to do the motorcycle thing. Just wouldn't be possible. they would just push you and push you and push you. So it'd be interesting to hear that from other people. But I know that motorcycles here also are frowned upon. But you know, it's also an accepted form of transportation, even in New York, which is such a cold city and really hard to get around. But there's a lot of people that use motorcycles to get around here, and it's a form of transportation that is recognized. You know, it's not like in LA. LA is a completely, you know, there's so many motorcycles on the road. And then it's interesting, like in Manila, in Philippines, like I go there. I have a condo there, and I go there to stay, but I haven't been there in a while since the pandemic started, and I got to get over there. But I have a little Yamaha 250 there, and I would say like family members, kind of like, you know, everybody rides motorcycles there. But even so, some people frown upon it as they get money in their family, you know. As their incomes and their standard of living goes up, it's like Vietnam, you know, if the standard of living goes up, people get off of motorcycles, whereas you would think it's such an awesome way to get around the city like that, but when you get some money together, they don't want to be on a bike anymore. And all the advantages of having a bike in the city and all that go out the window. But Asian cities do have differences when it comes to parking. Like condos, offices all have full parking for high-end employees, you know. So if you're wealthy, there's no problem to have parking, whereas parking here can be really expensive and very difficult, even for a wealthy person. You have to be extremely wealthy to get rid of all the pain in the ass things about having, because like here, if you let's say you're working over here on 6th Avenue, but you know, you have your office over here, and you drive to work. And then you decide, I'm gonna bring my car to work every day, and sure, you got the money for it, but the garage might not have the space for it here, because not every office building has parking like in Asia, where most of the office complexes and definitely condos have, you know, even my condo building in the middle of Manila by the U.S. Embassy, it's a couple blocks from the U.S. Embassy. It has four levels of parking in the building. You know, 4 levels of the building are for parking. Floors 1 through 4 are parking, and then the rest of the building is for residences. But that's a lot of parking, you know. Like when they build the building, they have the first 4 levels of it for parking, depending on how tall the building is. You know, the building next door to me has 6 levels of parking. Yeah, you know, it's got 6 levels of parking. Because that's a taller building, but a good 1/4 of the building is for parking. Which, if you look around New York City, no buildings are set up like that. Like none of these buildings right here on 57th Street, all around me, none of these buildings have parking. They're just not designed for that. There's parking facilities, you know, that they're like, there's one on the west side over here, you know, but this is a rough area for parking. So even if you were wealthy and said, okay, I got $300,000 or I got $1 million for a parking spot, you're not gonna be able to get it. Probably even if you wanted to build like a structure and have parking, that might not even happen either, because the city doesn't, you know, they don't tax you less based on the fact that the building only has parking. It doesn't work like that. The building is designed for, if the building is designed for parking on a certain number of levels, you would have to have permits and all that stuff to do that. And then The interesting thing would be there would be no difference in the taxes that you pay on the building. You know, the building, if you have 2 floors of parking, you would think, okay, this space on the building cannot get income that you can't produce the same income, so you would think the taxable amount would be less, but that's not the case at all. So that's why people wouldn't even build a building like that, because there'd be no benefit to them at all. And you can't sell. So let's say you're building a building that's co-ops. You know, you can't sell parking spots for the same price that you could sell living space. So that's another reason why developers would never do that, because no matter how you twist and turn it, you're not going to be able to sell a parking spot for the same price that you could sell a living space. No matter how, you know, there might be a 1 in a million time that you do, like somebody wealthy who really wants a parking spot in their building. Oh yeah, I'm going to pay exactly what it costs for a regular unit. Yeah, that's possible. But not everyone would. So that's why I was saying not even a wealthy person can